summer here in the Northwest. It's currently 51 degrees, overcast with light rain. Can't beat the Northwest for summer weather. Anyway, we just got back from a trip to Eastern Washington where we went over to a place on the Columbia River. But it was a good trip. Learned a lot of things about the trailer, learned a lot of things about my tow vehicle, which is the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Going over the pass this last weekend, heading over to Eastern Washington, my oil temps were like 230, getting close to 240. My transmission temperature went over 200 for the first time. And coolant temp was, I don't think it quite got to 230, but it was in the 220s. And so I really put the Jeep to the test. Again, in hindsight, I would have got the V8, had, an extra 1,000 pounds of towing. This one is fine for mainly flatland towing or moderate hills, but going over the pass was really working hard to get this load over the top. And we were under our towing capacity. Our gross vehicle weight rating for the Jeep itself is 6,700. We were at 6,100 pounds. The trailer was loaded to maybe 5,700 pounds. I think our gross weight was something like 11,300. And our gross combined weight rating is 11,700. So we were under for payload on the Jeep, we were under for gross weight on the Jeep, we were under for gross total weight, and it was really struggling. And you kind of got to think about it in terms of weightlifting. Like if you can bench press 200 pounds, and that's the most you can bench press. Like, are you going to do that all day, every day? Probably not. You're going to maybe get 1 or 2 reps, and you're going to move on to something else. And I think that's how you should look at your towing capacity. Your towing capacity is how much it can do as a maximum, but it's not intended to be, towing that day in and day out. Going over the pass, once we got to the other side, it was fairly flat. And if you're doing a long trip, maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing. But I would have, felt better had I, had the V8 engine, and that was kind of, maybe about 80% of my capacity rather than being a 99.99% of my capacity. Things to think about when you're selecting a tow vehicle. In hindsight, again, the V8 would have been the better option. Ram is now bringing their V8 trucks back, which is something I'm very interested in. I wasn't totally interested in the Hurricane this soon. I'd like to see a few more years of reliability data on those engines before I would buy into getting something like that. The Jeep Wagoneer can pull 10,000 pounds, and they used to have a V8 option in that, but now that's gone to the Hurricane. Anyway, here I am climbing again. RPMs are going up, probably in about 3rd or 4th gear right now. Just doing 60 miles an hour. And again, moderate grade, temperature staying not too bad. Again, if I could stay at these temperatures, I would tow no problem. But some of those really steep grades where the trucks are doing 50 miles an hour and I can barely keep up with them without going above 4,500 RPM. I don't know what was going on that day, but like everything in this cab was rattling. There was rattling coming from the dash. There was rattling coming from above the windshield someplace, which I've not heard before, which was concerning. Nothing's rattling right now at 4,000 RPM. But the Jeep's going to get us by for now. Definitely want to look at something with more horsepower, more torque, maybe some more payload, higher towing capacity. Here's a little bit about my towing setup. I've got my tire pressure monitoring system up here on the dash. Down here I've got my rear view camera, putting it into sport mode. That seems to be giving me a little more torque from a dead stop. I think in normal mode, I think I'm starting out in 2nd gear. With sport mode, I start out in 1st gear and I got a lot of torque when I hit the gas pedal, which is nice to get the trailer moving. I've got my ride height selector over here. When it's in the middle of ride height, everything's leveled and the weight distribution hitch is dialed in. And then down here, I put the emergency button for the brakes. I have the button right there. And then I also have the app open, which I can hit that button on there and I can adjust the sensitivity of the brakes and the maximum percentage of the brakes from the app, which has been fine. This Jeep, wasn't really set up for towing. It didn't have a built-in trailer brake system that detects, how hard you're hitting the brakes and then will apply brakes to match your deceleration. It works pretty well. It does kind of grab on kind of hard, but that's what you want. You want the trailer to do the braking and not your vehicle. And that's That's especially important if you get into a sway situation. Let the pull of the tow vehicle straighten that out and take that sway out. Anyway,